See, the thing about the police and the Dallas Cowboys and things like that in Texas is they don't want to give the money to like an Adam the Woo style artsy filmmaker guy from Texas. They want it to the guy that has a shaved head and looks like a neo-Nazi from Dallas, right? The guy, he's not really a neo-Nazi, but he looks like one, right? He's got the red suspenders and looks like he belongs to the CHS, Confederate Hammer Skinheads, right? Neo-Nazi kind of guy that's in Dallas, that's real famous and goes to Vegas and has, Back to the Future DeLorean kind of cars, right? They give it to him because, for one thing, he's a glutton for punishment, or they give it to the donut operator because that police officer just got right behind me and just honked at me, right? So they're gonna give it to those types. The reason why is because I don't really know exactly why, but they're not really Hollywood here, just like all other states. They kind of hate Hollywood, or maybe they don't, or maybe they do. Their commercialism, it's like they love the song Frozen, in Disneyland and Disney World. That they probably like that aspect of him. It's hard to explain why they try to censor YouTube work and stuff like that in Texas. It's like they see him as, well, he represents Republicans. That money's going into a Republican community, that kind of thing. They only want to support either like the gay community in Hollywood, West Hollywood community. All that money goes to Hollywood, or you got to realize, where does Adam the Woo's money go to, right? It goes to right there by the Florida Project, right? It's going into the Florida Project, or it's going into Florida or Orlando, or his money is going to Hollywood.
Police reported ahead.
Right. They see us as kind of like the enemy kind of thing. So if they were to give me money out of YouTube, right, they'd be giving money to the Republicans. They'd be handing the money to the enemy, right, to people that don't support their ideals. And the church scares them because they don't want the church to control Hollywood, which I think maybe the church should have more power in Hollywood. Because a lot of the old film styles from like the 90s, Reservoir Dogs and all that violence, that stuff's going away. Seeing someone get pounded by by some blonde-haired, there he is right there. He's going forward right there. You can see him. Yeah, he just made an illegal turn into, the cop just kind of illegally turned into this, the GIMP, bring out the GIMP kind of thing. There he is right there. So they're going to give police a lot of power in Texas. They're seen as kind of like the Kingsmen kind of thing. And they shouldn't do that because it hurts the artist. They don't understand art. They don't pick up Crayolas. They don't know who, they don't know Fellini's films. Maybe some of them, maybe. But what I'm trying to say is that it's kind of like I'm behind enemy lines. And the people that are funding the soldier can't get to them for certain political reasons or something. Or I'd already be cashing out YouTube big time, right? I'd just be doing YouTube full time. And I wouldn't be, I'd be hitting carpetbagger vlogs, I'd be vlogging Paul Bunyan kind of thing, or I'd even be vlogging the JFK spot, right? But I got to watch every single penny, right? And they monitor me. They got me on a chain because it's a financial thing, right? Or I'd be cashing out $100 a day right out of YouTube or more, right? So that money, eventually, it's guarded, right? There's a big difference between me and Bradley Cooper, right? It's night and day. Yeah, we're both actors. Yeah, we're both filmmakers, and in a way, we're both writers and musicians and that kind of thing too. But there's a big difference between a guy that lives in a big mansion with security and can spend his whole day writing and doing a controlled narrative work with selective actors that are usually stars or close to it, and he doesn't really have to worry that much about the police because he has them in his back pocket, kind of, in a way. And he can do all the narrative that he wants without any threat against a police officer knocking on his door at 2 a.m. Right? No one goes up to his studio and walks in his studio and says, look, you have to stop doing this, right? Or stop doing this. It doesn't happen. That's why it's night or day difference. He said it's zero difference in the actor's studio. It's night and day difference. Because if I had, let's just say, a cool $1 million that was transferred into my account, this whole thing would be very different. And many people would be watching it. We're talking 30, 40, 50,000 people a day, which is a lot. And that's usually what Adam the Woo gets. He gets like 50, 60,000 views a day. Because that money is going to flow right back into Hollywood, and that money is going to flow right back into Florida or Walt Disney World, right? And they want their money back. What happens if they don't get their money back? How y'all doing today? Like juice or something in the backpack. Doesn't look like they're the same company as they were before. I don't know. Probably juice or something like that, so I can have energy through the day. Maybe like Arizona tea or something like that. I'll put that in the camel pack. Maybe some snacks in there. And we'll do it pretty much shot for shot. In this case, it'll be a vlogging location. TDW 1693. The home video that shocked the world or something like that. I almost worked for this company, which was once called Aerotech, which they went out of business, if I'm not mistaken, or they moved. And a guy had, been working for him, for a while, and he died on the factory line of a heart attack. They had to call the ambulance and all this stuff. They're no longer Aerotech now. But when I went in for the job interview, I went in, I was actually hired. It was right before I worked for a bank. That's when I met Angel. And I went through those doors right there. These side doors right here. Those doors right there. I went in and I talked to some people. I sat down, I gave them all my information, filled out a big application. They said I was hired and I'd start training. The factory line was over here. Now, a long time ago, I would say maybe almost like 15 years ago. Yeah, about 16 years ago, I did work for this company, but it was Nokia cell phones. And we basically pulled Nokia cell phones off the tread thing. Like, picking and pulling. Assembly. And I left. I was a security guard. I became a security guard at another place down the way, and that didn't work out. And then I came back right when I met Angel, my second wife. I went through those doors to work for Aerotech, and a guy had died of a heart attack on the line. Also, another guy tried to beat me up here. I was working for Nokia. This guy he wanted to beat me up. He wanted to meet me in this parking lot right here during my first marriage to Sarah. And I was walking out right over here, and he wanted to fight me in the parking lot. And I ended up leaving. I didn't come back after that day. Some Asian guy. But there was Nokia and it was real competitive. And they were set up here, and then Aerotech was set up here in about 2013 AD. And I went through those doors to apply. And eventually, what I found out in Sunday Bible Fellowship at MacArthur Boulevard from a guy named Darren is a guy had a heart attack on the assembly line. And then bring the ambulance and everything, and then they closed down. Their flags are down and everything. I do not see any blue tables or blue tarps. So I have no idea where this guy's at. It's kind of a blue bench, but not a blue table. Hey, do you know where they have like a blue tables and a blue tarp where they eat like lunch? Do you have any idea? Yeah, they're obviously not going to help. Some kind of blue tables and blue tarps, something like that. We'll find out. It's like a big water tower or something, but it's not a blue table or blue tarp. Something to do with the blue table. We're by the blue table and blue tarps. He spelled were, W-E-R. I guess that's for we are. I don't know. W-E-R, I guess means we are or something. It's like a Huckleberry Finn way of saying were. We're by the blue tables and the blue tarps. Cool if there's like a little ramp and I could just go up on that U-Haul thing. It could pull me around for the day. I would save quite a bit of gas. It's a good way to save quite a bit of gas. Just pull the car right up on that. Just right there. Looks like they made it all the way from Arizona. So, Critter the Cat, we're going to the Carrollton Police Department to file complaint against the police department for harassing me. For knocking on my door at 2 o'clock in the morning while I was sleeping.